It was a tight race, but the Saturday after Election Day, the Associated Press named Joe Biden president-elect. With a Biden administration and a possibly divided Congress, what effect could this have on the markets? Joining us today is Meera Pandit, market analyst on JPMorgan Asset Management's Global Market Insights strategy team. Meera, before a winner was even announced, markets were up. What does this say to investors?
That's right. The week of the election, markets ended the week up 7.3%, which would have been a good return in an entire year. And I think that what that says to us about the nature of markets in general, and specifically with regards to this election, is that markets don't like uncertainty. And in this case, the election results did reduce it, even if we didn't have final results by the end of that week. And I also think that given the fact that the outcome was pointing to a divided government, markets reacted positively for two main policy reasons. I think that divided government does temper the potential for massive policy changes. So it does take things like major tax reform off the table. And certainly from a fiscal perspective, even with the divided government, we are still expecting some sort of fiscal stimulus to follow.
We are still in the middle of a pandemic. Fiscal package discussions are on the table, but at an impasse. Under a Biden administration, what could we see in terms of new aid?
I think that although discussions have been at an impasse over the last couple of months, a lot of that does have to do with the election. So without the spotlight of the election looming, I do think that both parties will come to some sort of compromise based on some of the areas they agree upon. So I think some of the things you potentially could see in a fiscal package would be expanded and enhanced unemployment benefits, maybe not that full $600 we saw from the CARES Act, but certainly some sort of supplement, small and medium-sized business loans, potentially a little bit more support for state and local governments. And I do think that even if the fiscal package is a bit more modest, it should still be a huge help to households and businesses. Because essentially what we've done is we've built about half of a bridge here. And we need to build that other half of the bridge in terms of fiscal support to get households and businesses to the other side. And I do think if you find that fiscal support starts to fall a little bit short, you may see the Federal Reserve step in and be even more accommodative from a monetary policy perspective.
Healthcare, climate change, and taxes were all major discussion points during the campaign. If Congress stays split after the runoffs in January, what changes could people expect to see?
Well, major legislative change is going to be tough without some bipartisan support. So in the absence of that, I think that there is a limited scope for major tax reform, for major changes to the Affordable Care Act, and perhaps less scope for some of the clean energy initiatives that Biden had proposed on the campaign trail. That being said, I do think that Biden can still achieve a number of things through executive orders. And a lot of that in terms of scope will rely on regulation and foreign policy. So from a regulatory standpoint, I think you could see some more re-regulation of the energy sector. I also think you could see us potentially rejoining the Paris Climate Accord.
Let's shift to foreign policy. How might U.S.-China relations change under a Biden administration?
I think Biden will still be tough on China. We've seen a lot of bipartisan support for having a tough on China stance, but I do think that the policy outlook will be a little bit more predictable. And I think that's important from a market perspective because, just to bring it full circle, markets do not like uncertainty. And we did see a lot of uncertainty in 2018, 2019 around US-China trade tensions and the headlines, and that did foment some market volatility. We also saw that it was an uncertain time for businesses. I mean, it makes it hard for businesses to make investment decisions, spending decisions, hiring decisions, if the rules of the game are sort of subject to change. And that makes it difficult for them to interact with suppliers and subsidiaries. So I do think that with Biden, you'll potentially see a more predictable approach from that perspective, and probably a more multilateral approach with some of our key allies.
A lot to watch. Meera, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.